In this video, we are going to go over a mech which embodies its often criticized weight bracket of 40 tons in the most negative ways. This anti-infantry mech is a terror to some and a joke to others. Today, we're going to go over the Vulcan. A medium mech weighing in at 40 tons, the Vulcan, sometimes nicknamed the Scarecrow, was designed in the midst of seemingly the war to end all wars, being literally a product of the Ameris Civil War in 2777 after the liberation of Northwind. It was designed and deployed to solve a very direct problem at the time, which was infantry, who in particular from entrenched positions were causing high amounts of losses to both SLDF mech forces and infantry. The conflict against Ameris would end not long after the deployment of the Vulcan, which earned a reputation as a city fighter during the war, and the design would continue to be built in some levels during the Succession Wars. Mechwarriors of the time and later would point out that it served well in its intended role. It was in the Succession Wars that the Vulcan gained a new lease on life, taking the lives of the citizens it was once built, ironically, to protect. The vehicle would continue to serve into the 32nd century and has been fighting in a variety of settings for almost 400 years. The VL-2T Vulcan is the primary design utilized by the Star League and the successor states throughout most of the history of Battletech. This design comes with a 240 pit band standard engine, providing it with a maximum speed of 97.2 km per hour, or 9 movement points in the tabletop game. It also comes with a maximum array of jump jets, giving it the ability to leap up to 180 meters in a single bound, or 6 movement points. This provides the mech with more than adequate movement for its 40-ton weight, as well as maneuverability that it would require to deal with its primary target, which is principally infantry. Without high heat weapons in its design, it comes with only 10 standard heat sinks, but this is completely acceptable. For weapons, the VL-2T exposes its true weakness, as being woefully inadequate to take on most tasks. It supports a machine gun and a flamethrower, giving it a reasonable anti-infantry ability, though frankly there are designs which are significantly better at the task and have better armaments for this, meaning that it doesn't particularly excel at the job it was designed for. For anti-mech weaponry, designed to keep this particular model safe, or discourage engagements by enemy Battlemechs, the Vulcan comes with a dismal combination of a single medium laser and, stunningly, an AC-2 weapon system. To be very clear, the AC-2 has some use in an anti-VTOL or anti-air duty, potentially, but it is explicitly stated in the original TRO 3025 that this mech's autocannon is there to engage with Battlemechs. Overall, the VL-2T is heinously poorly equipped, so far as its weapons are concerned, and it embodies the worst stereotypes covering its weight bracket. For protection, the Vulcan comes with a barely adequate 5 tons of standard armor, making it vulnerable to enemy light and medium mechs, as well as, ironically, dedicated anti-mech infantry teams in built-up areas. I often try to look at the good I can find in mech designs, and where the reasoning that came into its design originated from both in-universe and by the designers themselves. But I unfortunately have to be frank. Much like the Assassin, or the Charger, it's a deeply inadequate mech at the stated job it has. It's incredibly vulnerable to anything that's not its primary task, which I should reiterate it's not particularly well suited at doing either, and to be assigned to a mech such as this, if combat should emerge, is to be assigned to a steel casket. In an attempt to improve the design over the years, several variants would emerge, including one from the Succession Wars itself. The VL-5T is an attempt to improve the design by removing its biggest flaw, which is, of course, the AC-2 autocannon. This ends up being removed in favor of 3 medium lasers, 2 additional heat sinks, and 2 tons of armor. This is overall a fantastic design comparatively to its original counterpart, giving the mech real ability to dissuade other mechs from getting in close to try to knock it out. It is very comparable to the HER-2M in its overall design and use, which is not an inadequate mech at its own job. It is a marked improvement in almost every way that matters. There were several upgrades done on the Vulcan during the Clan era, The one we are going to be covering for this video is the VT-5S, which replaces the standard Fusion Pitman 240 with a 240 XL engine, dramatically decreasing its weight but reducing the mech's durability, making it more likely to suffer an engine failure from damage. To try to compensate for this, additional armor is added to the design using ferro fibers. It also comes with a mask in order to increase its speed up to 129 kilometers per hour, or 12 in-game movement points. For its weaponry, the unit has the AC2 removed and an Ultra AC5 installed. This version, much like the VL-2T, is a very whelming design for its intended role. The final design we'll be looking at today is the VT-6M, which has ceased production due to its primary plant being destroyed, though to get back to the vehicle, this does come with a 240 XL engine. It would also adjust the weapons on board, removing the primary autocannon for a light Gauss rifle and adding several ER medium lasers. It also has 5 tons of light ferrofibrous, though this is still relatively poorly armored despite improving its protection. The Vulcan has few strengths beyond its decent mobility and speed for its weight. The best overall design in the era is the VL-5T, which is a vicious brawler and a reasonable infantry killer, and ironically will outperform its later retrofits in both armor and close-range damage despite being an ancient design using old technology. For weaknesses, the Vulcans are legion. It has relatively poor protection, it has extremely bad weapons in its original configuration, and is slightly less armed than it should be in its upgrade packages. It also doesn't excel at its primary job, which is anti-infantry, where it is easily outcompeted by the Firestarter, for instance, which has twice the anti-infantry ability and more armor. The Vulcan is a weapon which was designed in the desperation of war, and in many respects this shows. During the Succession Wars, it was better optimized in the 5T, but that model never overtook the original, which is grossly incompetent in its configuration. Though it continues to serve the forces of the Inner Sphere to this day, it is the champion of the stereotypical 40-ton mechs. It's the most 40-ton mech of them all. Thank you for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. With that, I will catch you in the comment section below.